You know, life has this uncanny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them, often when you think you've figured everything out. This is a story about a woman named Amara Jenkins, a single mother who, along with her little boy Nathan, found herself tossed into a whirlwind of hostility and heartbreak, all because of her in-laws. And let me tell you, they weren't just distant relatives. They were like the storm clouds that never seemed to clear. Picture this desert heat settling heavy on your skin, the kind that makes you sweat just by standing still. That's where Amara and Nathan found themselves after the tragic death of David, her husband. It's a landscape that could break anyone's spirit. The Pattersons, Amara's in-laws, didn't just abandon them. They stripped away whatever dignity and hope they had left. They saw Amara as less than. Eleanor Patterson, her mother-in-law, never missed a chance to remind her she wasn't good enough, a lingering taunt that echoed in the barren desert around them. Imagine being called that woman by a family that once welcomed you. When Amara would try to reach out for help, the subtle looks of disdain were like blades cutting into her heart. You know that feeling when you're fighting for your worth, but the world seems to whisper that you're worthless, just brutal. It built this prison for Amara, each line of scorn from Eleanor tightening the bars. Things were dire. Water was in short supply. Nathan's little hands were clammy from dehydration, his eyes wan and confused. It wasn't just his thirst that frightened him. It was the fear that his world was crumbling. Gripping his small shoulder, Amara could only whisper that they would be okay, knowing deep down she had no roadmap out of this desert wasteland, until against all odds they met Marcus Reynolds. Now, Marcus wasn't just some passerby, he was a millionaire, but more importantly, he was a man who had felt the sting of loss too. When he saw Amara and Nathan, what caught his eye was not just their desperate situation, but the resilience in Amara's eyes and the way Nathan clung to her, radiating trust. It was as if fate had intervened, echoing their cries for help in the thirst-laden air. Marcus offered them water and shelter, an oasis amidst the turmoil. In that moment, the world shifted, and it would never be the same. But here's where the tension thickened. Amara's in-laws weren't just going to fade away. Oh no, they were a storm ready to wreak havoc. They soon attempted to light up the courtroom like a low-budget thriller aiming for custody of Nathan. Can you imagine? The very people who had made them suffer were now claiming they could provide a better home? Amara felt the walls closing in again, but something shifted inside her. Determination flickered to life. She wasn't going to roll over. She was going to fight back with Marcus's support and the fierce tenacity of her lawyer, Zoe Washington, who, by the way, had this dreamy way of breaking down the very system meant to silence them. Amara began gathering evidence. She recorded instances of the emotional and physical abuse they had endured. Each recording was a little piece of her strength. Amara had transformed from a cornered rabbit into a lioness protecting her cub. The woman who once felt unworthy was now ready to expose the very folks who thought they could crush her spirit. The planning sessions with Zoe were electric layers of strategy stacking up like bricks in a wall, shielding Nathan from his family's toxicity. It was one of those moments where you can't help but feel a surge of hope, because she was finally taking control. And then the courtroom drama unfolded. Picture it, everyone dressed to the nines, tension so thick you could slice it. The Pattersons marched in with their arrogance, while Amara stood resolute, fueled by that same determination that had carried her through the desert. Zoe pulled out video evidence. The room quieted, anticipation crackling in the air. The playback showed the Pattersons' misconduct, their scheming, and Amara's brave fight against them. At that moment, you could have heard a pin drop, and then you could practically feel the electricity in the air as the judge made his pronouncement. Eleanor and Richard Patterson, both arrested. Justice had been served. The community rallied around Amara like wildflowers in the desert. They saw her strength, her indomitable spirit in the face of cruelty. And it was more than just a courtroom victory, it was a revolution for so many who had felt invisible. Amara didn't stop there. She transformed her anger and pain into purpose, setting up a support center for victims of domestic violence and racial prejudice. At that center, she pulled her community together, helping others find strength, just as Marcus had helped her. Years later, as she gazed at Nathan, who was growing into an incredible young man, Amara couldn't help but reflect. From that desert of despair to this flourishing garden of hope, she had grown. Pain was no longer a weight, it was a catalyst for change. As Nathan blossomed free from the shackles of fear, Amara knew their journey wasn't just a story of survival, it was about thriving against all odds. As we wrap this up, I just want to leave you with this thought. What does justice really look like? Is it just the courtroom's decision? Or is it about the recognition that we all deserve a chance to rise above? Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you had to fight against the odds? I'd love to know your thoughts. Let's get the conversation going in the comments below. And if you found strength in Amara's story, hit that subscribe button for more real-life tales that inspire and ignite hope. Remember, no matter where you are, the strength to change your story lies within you.